Hello everyone, I'm Maki. The story of Gundam 0083 has gained huge popularity. Its cool mobile suits and charming characters are still major stars in many products today. This time, I would like to focus on one of the mobile suits that appears in the story The Gerbera Tetra. It was created as part of the Gundam development project commissioned by the ERA's Federation Forces from Anaheim Electronics. Originally developed as a Gundam, its exterior was replaced and it was put into operation as part of a secret deal with the Zeon Remnants. How would you feel if someone told you that the Gerbera Tetra was the real Gundam? Today, I will combine the designer's comments with the official settings to explore the possibility that the Gerbera Tetra may have been the real Gundam. Please support my channel by subscribing for just 99 cents a month. As a thank you, you will receive a name badge and comment stamps. Now, let's begin the analysis. First, let's take a quick look at the Gerbera Tetra. As I mentioned earlier, it is a mobile suit that was designed as part of the Gundam development project, but ended up in the hands of the Zeon Remnants. It was originally the Gundam Prototype Unit 4. Sometime after the story was released, the GP-04 Gerbera form was also established. Another key feature is that it was developed to gain an advantage in close-range combat against enemy mobile suits through its high mobility and powerful weapons. However, as the design concept for improving performance as a general-purpose mobile suit was similar to that of the Gundam Prototype Unit 1, the Federation Forces decided to remove the Gerbera from the Gundam development project. Anaheim Electronics, however, decided to continue developing the Gerbera independently to test future mobile suit development technology. This often leads fans to ask whether Anaheim Electronics was foolish to fail to notice the problem during the planning stage. There are many possible interpretations of this. O'Sullivan of Anaheim Electronics was secretly collaborating with the remnants of the Principality of Zeon. And in the story, he actually hands over the Gerbera to Zeon. It's also possible to think that they were developed with the intention of handing it over to Zeon from the very beginning, so they deliberately developed it in a way that would exclude it from the plan. This would have had several advantages, such as making the ERA's Federation Forces cover the design budget, while also allowing Anaheim to reuse technology from the other Gundams. However, analyzing the designer's new comments alongside the official settings reveals another possibility. The possibility is that the Gerbera itself was the real Gundam, and that the ERA's Federation Forces were unable to recognize its true value. Mr. Miko Kitaka was the person in charge of designing the Gerbera Tetra. He has designed many mobile suits for the Gundam series. The story of 0083 was also produced with the intention of being made into GunPro. Akitaka was interviewed for a documentary called GunPro Factory. He was given free rein to design the Gerbera Tetra even down to the detailed composition of the GunPro's parts. The Gerbera Tetra is also a mobile suit that Akitaka was fully in charge of designing. Then, on 29 June 2026, Akitaka posted a comment on X that seemed to respond to a fan's post. First, let's look at the content of the fan's post. There was a previous plan for the true form of the Gerbera Tetra to be revealed in a magazine called Hobby Japan. A mysterious, blacked-out object was shown as a preview photo. However, this object was never officially revealed, and for many years, it was passed down among fans as a mystery. A fan who commented on X said regretfully this looks like a transformational mobile suit, but the setting itself ended up disappearing. In response, Akitaka commented it was not a transformational mobile suit, but something similar to a sub-flight system. A sub-flight system is equipment used by mobile suits to travel long distances at high speed, while reducing propellant consumption. In the Universal Century world, it is used by many factions. Apparently, Gerbera was planned to have similar equipment. Fans continue to send questions, and Akitaka answered them, albeit briefly. One fan asked if it was similar to the flying armor used by the Gundam Mark II. Akitaka replied since it was intended as a sub-flight system, I imagined it having a similar nature to the Dodai or the Mega Rider. It seems that it was not a full-body transformation like the Zeta Gundam, but rather temporary movement aid. Another fan asked if the true form of Gerbera would ever be made public. Akitaka briefly replied there are currently no plans for that. Gerbera was not just a high-mobility, close-range combat mobile suit. It was also designed to quickly move to the battlefield and launch an assault. This matches the nature of many of the transformational mobile suits that appear in the Zeta Gundam era. It is interesting that this concept was already being explored in Universal Century 0083. The Stern booster, which is given to the Gerbera Tetra as additional equipment in many Grand Pro models, is also designed for this purpose. With its high-output thrusters and large-capacity propellant tanks, the Gerbera Tetra can carry out rapid assaults into enemy territory. Now, this may not be new information, but I would like to verify one detail about the Gerbera Tetra. Specifically, the machine guns mounted on its arms. Even Gundam officials, a book I really love, contains a description of these machine guns. The caliber of these arm-mounted machine guns is 110 millimeters. They can fire rounds of an extremely large caliber compared to the machine guns of the Earth's Federation forces at the time. The caliber of the machine guns equipped on the Jim Kai and Jim Custom is 90 millimeters. The caliber of the head machine guns equipped on the Gundam Prototype Units 1 and 2 is 60 millimeters. Compared to the Federation Forces standard weapons at the time, this was an extremely large caliber, and its attack power was also very high. The biggest feature is that they are built into the arms. According to Gundam officials, the design concept of incorporating large caliber weapons was also the starting point of the evolutionary trait that would lead to larger mobile suits in later eras. The Gerbera Tetra's arm-mounted machine guns are rarely noticed. The beam machine gun, its main weapon, tends to get much more attention. Moreover, during the climax of the story, there are many scenes in which the Gundam Prototype Unit 3 and the Noi Azili use powerful, eye-catching weapons. It is therefore understandable that the arm machine guns are often considered plain and uninteresting. However, it is important to note that they match the nature of later mobile suit evolution. How would you answer if someone asked you what exactly is a Gundam-type mobile suit? There are many different answers to this question. The answer also changes depending on the story. One answer is that it is an innovative mobile suit created using the latest technology. The best example of this is the LX-78, the original Gundam. This nature has even been carried on in series outside the Universal Century. The Gundam Prototype Unit 1 was certainly a powerful mobile suit, but it was designed to develop the LX-78 further. The prototype Unit 2 also has an extremely powerful offensive capability, but the nuclear weapon technology it uses is an outdated technology that already existed. The prototype Unit 3 had combat capabilities ranking among the strongest of its time, but the concept of a mobile armor was created by the Zeon military 3 years earlier. So, what about the Gerbera Tetra? While details haven't been fully revealed, one of its key features is its assault capability for high-speed long-distance travel, presumably combined with something like a sub-flight system. Furthermore, it was one of the first to implement the feature of integrating powerful weapons, a characteristic that would later become commonplace. The Gerbera Tetra's greatest feature is that it implemented design concepts that would become standard a few years later. This feature also matches the characteristic of a Gundam-type mobile suit that I mentioned earlier. This is precisely why I am claiming that the Gerbera Tetra is the true Gundam developed under the Gundam Development Project. How did you feel after watching today's program? Of course, there is one point we need to be careful about. The idea that the Gerbera Tetra itself was the real Gundam is ultimately my own interpretation. However, the fact that it was designed with a sub-flight system in mind is a point stated by Okitaka, the designer. The description of its arm machine guns as matching the trend of later mobile suit evolution is also an official setting. It would be interesting for each of us to consider these points and develop our own interpretations. The idea that it is the origin of mobile suits becoming larger by incorporating powerful weapons is also fascinating. Based on this official setting, the idea that the Gundam from Hathaway's Flash is a distant descendant of the Gerbera Tetra also works. Isn't it interesting to see the Gerbera, a mobile suit removed from the Gundam Development Project and stripped of the Gundam name as the real Gundam? Please let me know your thoughts too. Thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you again in the next program.